Hello, my name is Marc Fein. I'm Regional Director for Upstate New York NCSY, and this week I'm giving the NCSY Alumni Dvar Torah for Parshat Vayeira. And the Parsha opens in a very interesting way with the famous story of Avraham Avinu as he greets, after his Brit Milah, after his circumcision, the three angels who come to visit his tent. However, if you actually look at the opening verses, it never identifies the protagonist of the story as Avraham. If you go through verse 1, Vayeira alav Hashem Elonei mamrei v'hu yoshev petach ha'oel kechom hayom. Hashem appeared to him, doesn't say who, while he, doesn't say who, sitting at the center of the entrance in the heat of the day. And then again in the second verse, Vayisa einav vayar, and he lifted his eyes, and he saw that three people are coming. Vayar, and he saw, Vayaratz, and he ran, Likratam v'yishtachu arza. And the question is asked, why doesn't it identify who the actual person was? We know from the succeeding verses that the person in fact was Avraham Avinu. So how come it doesn't just identify at the beginning of the story, like any good narrator would, or any good newspaper article would, that in fact Avram was the one who saw, and Avram was the one who ran, and Avram was the one who served? How come it leaves it ambiguous as the word he? And the explanation that I heard from this, from my Rav Rabinowitz, back when I was a Shana Aleph in the Tiv was precisely that they left it ambiguous. Because if it led with Avram was the one, then of course Avram could do it. It was up to his standard of behavior and his standard of hachnasat orchim, of welcoming guests. And only Avram could possibly live up to that standard. But us, the mere mortals, everybody else, that's not something we should do. That's something that Avram does. However, when you read the story simply as he ran and he greeted and he accepted, all of a sudden that becomes the standard of behavior and the norm for anyone. Anyone could have done these actions. Anyone could have welcomed the guests in this way. It just happened to be that Avraham Avinu was the one who did it. It happened to be Avraham, but it just as easily could have been any of us. And I think that's the moral of the story when it comes to reading about the Avos and Imahos and reading about so many Jewish figures and role models in history. It's wonderful that they did it and they accomplished it. But they accomplished it not because they were so special. They were just the ones who did it. And the moral for us is that the same way that they did it, so could we potentially do it as well. Just as in this case, Avraham Avinu was the one who was welcoming the guests, so too any of us could be the ones to welcome the guests. Shabbat Shalom, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this Dvar Torah from NCSY Alumni.